He saw smoke. He heard crackling trees. And without hesitation, Bear Brown stepped up when no one else could. This is the heroic story that has the entire Alaskan bush people fan base cheering. When it comes to raw determination, unstoppable energy, and a fearless leap into the flames mindset, few reality TV personalities match the intensity of Bear Brown. Known to millions from Alaskan bush people for his wild enthusiasm and self-proclaimed king of extreme spirit, Bear has always been a unique TV presence. But over the past week, that persona has taken on a new meaning, one far beyond television entertainment. According to multiple eyewitnesses and local reports out of Washington state, Bear Brown didn't just help with fire mitigation efforts near his rural community, he single-handedly stopped the advance of multiple forest fires, working alongside volunteer crews, alerting families, and physically intervening at the fire line during crucial moments. For many who watched the events unfold, Bear didn't seem like a reality star out of the bush. He looked like a real-life action hero stepping off a movie screen. A week of chaos and one man running toward the flames. Wildfires across areas of rural Washington have grown more unpredictable in recent seasons. Dry brush, gusty winds, and steep terrain can turn small sparks into devastating blazes. Local firefighters have long warned communities to stay alert, but few expected how fast the recent fires would spread, or how quickly they would threaten remote homes. Eyewitnesses say Bear Brown was among the first to spot a fast-moving fire near a wooded area not far from where he and his family have been living. While many were still trying to understand how far the flames would travel, Bear ran directly toward the smoke, shouting warnings, pounding on doors, and helping residents move their pets, tools, and essentials away from the danger zone. One neighbor recalled seeing Bear sprinting across a hillside with a shovel and a radio. He wasn't waiting for permission, the neighbor explained. He just saw the fire jumping and went for it, digging out brush, throwing dirt, shouting directions. I've never seen anyone move so fast in my life. From reality star to emergency responder. What shocked onlookers wasn't just Bear's speed or boldness, it was his familiarity with the land, his understanding of fire behavior, and his ability to coordinate with local volunteers. Many forget that the Brown family has lived deep in remote wilderness conditions for decades. They've battled extreme elements, navigated natural disasters, and learned emergency response skills out of necessity. For Bear, any moment of crisis seems to ignite his adrenaline-driven instinct to react. Local volunteer firefighters reported that Bear positioned himself in high-risk areas, using hand tools to clear dry fuel from the ground while calling out wind shifts. In one instance, he reportedly helped prevent flames from reaching a home by creating a quick defensive barrier, dragging branches and brush away as the fire inched closer. He was working like someone who had trained for it, a volunteer firefighter noted. There was no hesitation, he did what needed to be done. Multiple fires contained, Bear's role gets bigger. The real turning point in the community's reaction came 2 days later when additional fires flared up due to changing winds and pressure shifts. Several small blazes ignited in different directions, threatening to merge into a single, large, unstoppable fire. Bear was seen racing between fire points, helping crews suppress hotspots and guiding residents to safety. Some witnesses say he called out warnings minutes before flames became visible from certain angles, noticing patterns others missed. Bear has always had an eye for the land, said a longtime local. He sees things quicker than the rest of us. When he said the fire was going to jump the ridge, he was right, and he got people out before it happened. These quick reactions played a significant role in preventing property destruction as the fires attempted to spread across uneven terrain. While official fire crews were stretched thin across multiple fronts, Bear's presence filled critical gaps. A viral moment caught on camera.
Though Bear didn't have cameras rolling for entertainment, several community members recorded spontaneous clips of him tearing through brush, waving down vehicles, and helping contain flare-ups. One video, which has already gone viral across TikTok and Instagram, shows Bear covered in soot, breathing hard, and shouting instructions to a small group of volunteers as the fire crackled behind him. Viewers online were stunned. "That's not TV, that's real," one commenter wrote. "He looks like he stepped straight out of an action movie," another added. Fans of Alaskan bush people quickly began resharing the clips with phrases like "real-life hero," "Bear the brave," and "action star energy." The perception of Bear as the thrill-seeking, constantly hyped member of the Brown family suddenly evolved into something deeper, someone who could channel that intensity into real-world heroics.
But look at him now. That's the kind of extreme you want on your side. What this means for the Brown family legacy. The Brown family has always been known for their wilderness lifestyle, but recent years have come with challenges: family tensions, public scrutiny, the loss of patriarch Billy Brown, and ongoing questions about the future of the family's homestead. But Bear's actions this week give fans something new to reflect on. The idea that the Browns are not just reality TV personalities, but real individuals shaped by the wilderness and capable of stepping up during emergencies. This moment may shift the way fans and critics view Bear. Instead of seeing him as the wild one of the family, they're now recognizing his leadership, bravery, and deep connection to the land. What comes next for Bear? At the moment, Bear has made no public statement beyond brief comments thanking volunteers and urging communities to stay alert during fire season. Those who know him well say he's not looking for publicity or praise. His focus remains on the same priorities he's had for years: protecting his family, helping his community, and honoring the wilderness he grew up in. Still, the impact of what happened is undeniable. Fans are already demanding more behind-the-scenes content, interviews or specials that document his firefighting efforts. Some are urging Discovery to highlight the incident in an upcoming season. Whether or not Bear embraces the growing spotlight, one thing is certain: his actions have left an impression that won't fade soon. A real hero in a time of need. At its core, this story is about more than viral videos or dramatic headlines. It's about a man who saw danger, ran toward it, and helped prevent disaster when it mattered most. It's about a community that came together, supported one another, and found strength in unlikely places. And it's about how sometimes the heroes we see on television turn out to be heroes in real life too. Bear Brown didn't have a camera crew filming his every move. He didn't have stunt doubles, special effects, or a script. He had determination, he had instinct, he had the courage to jump into action when the flames rose higher than anyone expected. For many, that's more powerful than any reality show episode could ever be. A legacy of action, courage, and heart. As the smoke lifts and the skies clear, the stories of this week will continue to circulate. Children will remember the man who came running up their driveway, telling them they needed to leave quickly. Adults will remember the soot-covered silhouette coordinating efforts on the hilltop. Volunteers will remember the man who never backed down, even when embers lit up around him. Whether or not he ever sets foot on a Hollywood set, Bear Brown has already done something most action stars only act out on screen. He stood between disaster and safety, using nothing but his grit, strength, and unbreakable will. In the days following the containment of the fires, wildfire behavior specialists, former smoke jumpers, and survival experts began discussing Bear Brown's actions publicly. While fans celebrated his larger-than-life bravery, professionals offered a more detailed breakdown of how his instincts aligned with real wildfire mitigation strategy. Survival professionals call his reactions remarkably accurate. A retired smoke jumper with over 2 decades of experience reviewed the viral clips and shared his assessment through regional media outlets. He emphasized that Bear's movements, particularly his urgency in clearing brush and identifying vulnerable points in the terrain, were not amateur guesses, but solid field instincts.
From the footage, you can see he's improvising correctly, the expert explained. When someone has grown up in the wilderness as long as he has, that natural training becomes second nature. He wasn't reckless, he was focused. This professional insight elevated public perception even further. What some initially assumed was Bear's signature adrenaline-fueled chaos now appeared to be controlled action rooted in lived experience. Local authorities quietly acknowledge his role. While official fire departments must follow strict procedures when crediting civilian involvement, multiple statements suggested Bear's presence did make a measurable difference. One county fire official said in a radio interview that the combined efforts of trained crews and fast-acting residents helped prevent significant structural loss. When asked specifically about Bear Brown, the official paused before responding, "Community members know their land better than anyone. When someone who understands terrain and fire risk steps up responsibly, it can be invaluable." Though the statement avoided celebrity-based praise, locals immediately recognized it as a nod to Bear's impact. Fans launch appreciation drives and online tributes. Meanwhile, online communities exploded with gratitude. Hundreds of fans organized digital appreciation posts under hashtags like Bear the Hero. Fan pages compiled clips of Bear battling fires, intercut with moments from Alaskan bush people, showing his high-energy personality, creating emotional mini-documentaries that compared his on-screen persona to his real-world bravery. Parents even shared stories of their children pretending to fight fires as Bear the Hero, wearing makeshift bandanas and carrying toy shovels. One mother posted a heartwarming message: "My son always saw Bear as fun. Now he sees him as brave." The fire's broader impact on the region. While no lives were lost and structural damage was largely contained, the fires did leave their mark on the natural environment. Acres of forest land now sit blackened and quiet, with smoke still drifting from smoldering roots and deep earth heat pockets. Wildlife authorities have launched recovery assessments, but early reports suggest that many animals were able to escape thanks to the early alerts sent out by both firefighters and volunteer responders, including Bear. Local residents who rely on hunting, gathering, and rural self-sufficiency will feel the effects for months. Some homesteads narrowly avoided destruction, others lost fencing, sheds, or stored supplies. The emotional toll, though quieter than the crackling of flames, is equally heavy. Yet through the smoke, community leaders say they've never seen local spirits so united. Fire can either destroy or bring people together, one resident said. This time, it brought us together because certain people stepped up when others needed them. A new chapter for Bear. With national outlets beginning to pick up the story, naturally, questions arise. Will this event lead to new opportunities for Bear? Could he appear in survival-focused specials, documentaries, or training showcases? Fans seem convinced he should. Some argue the incident proves Bear is more than a television personality. He's someone capable of educating others, especially younger viewers, about the importance of emergency awareness, fire safety, and wilderness responsibility. Producers close to the Alaskan Bush People franchise have not commented, but online buzz suggests viewers would welcome an episode or special dedicated to the fires and Bear's role. It's not the kind of plotline anyone wants to experience, but when real life writes a story this powerful, it inevitably echoes beyond the moment.
In the end, it wasn't about fame. Despite the praise flooding in, people close to Bear say he remains surprisingly quiet about what happened. Those who spoke with him describe him as humble, tired, and focused on recovery efforts rather than recognition. They say he's been helping neighbors rebuild small structures, clearing burnt debris, and assisting with fence repairs. Tasks that are far less glamorous, but just as necessary for community recovery. As the smoke cleared and families returned to evaluate the damage, the emotional weight of what had unfolded began to surface. Beyond the viral clips and adrenaline-fueled moments, the stories shared by those who lived through the fires paint a far more intimate picture of Bear Brown's role in the crisis. He saved minutes, and minutes matter. One of the most striking interviews came from a mother whose home sits on a slope overlooking dense woodland. She recounted hearing frantic knocking before dawn as the fire crept over the ridge. "It was Bear," she said, her voice shaking. "I had just woken up to the smell of smoke, but I didn't think it was that close yet. He was yelling that we needed to leave immediately. If he hadn't come when he did, we would have lost precious minutes. And when it comes to fire, minutes matter." Her family escaped safely. Their home, against all odds, still stands. Elderly residents call him a guardian in the dark. Another interview came from an elderly couple who lived alone. They admitted they were confused, unsure of where the fire was located or how quickly it was moving. Bear reached them before any official alert came through their phones. "He guided us out of the house, helped us down the steps, and put our essential medicines in a bag," the husband recalled. "Then he stayed until our son arrived to drive us out." The wife added tearfully, "In all our years here, we have never seen someone run through danger like that for strangers." He worked like someone who refused to quit. A young volunteer firefighter described working alongside Bear during a particularly intense flare-up. He wasn't treating it like a stunt, the volunteer emphasized. He was digging fire breaks, he was lugging gear, he was shouting for people to get back when the wind shifted. He worked like someone who refused to quit. When asked what struck him most, the volunteer said it was Bear's stamina. "Everyone gets tired, but it felt like Bear had another gear the rest of us didn't." Parents praise his efforts to protect children. Families with young children have been among the most emotional in their praise. One father said Bear physically carried his daughter out of the yard when the wind suddenly changed direction. "I didn't even know what was happening behind me," the father said. "Bear saw it before any of us. He just scooped her up and ran, no hesitation." Neighbors reported that Bear made sure children were prioritized, guiding them into vehicles and reassuring them that everything would be okay. "It means a lot when someone can bring calm to a frightened child," one mother noted, "especially in chaos." Wildlife advocates share heartfelt gratitude. Not all the voices came from homeowners. A local wildlife rehabilitation volunteer tearfully described how Bear helped move cages and protective coverings when drifting embers threatened their outdoor animal enclosures. "He saved our fox kit," she said, "and the owl we've been rehabilitating. He carried equipment, cleared a safe path, and shielded the cages with his own body when embers were falling." Her final words captured the raw emotion shared by many. "He didn't have to help us. Animals can't thank him, but we can." The emotional toll on Bear himself. Those closest to Bear say the emotional impact of the fires is still settling in. He's known for his intense energy and constant motion, but friends say this event shook him in a way few things have. Bear acts fearless, but he cares deeply. He keeps thinking about what could have happened if help came later or if the wind shifted a different way. He's replaying everything in his head. They noted that Bear hasn't been sleeping much, spending early mornings checking burnt areas, walking fire lines long after they've been declared safe. He's processing it. When you fight something that big, it stays with you. Community leaders meet with Bear to express gratitude. Small communities often rely on informal gatherings rather than official ceremonies, and this situation was no different. Local families and volunteers arranged an impromptu meetup near the town's general store, where residents personally thanked Bear for his efforts. Children handed him drawings with messages like, "Thank you, Bear," and "You saved us." Parents thanked him for his courage. Elderly couples hugged him. A community organizer said the gathering wasn't about elevating Bear above others, but acknowledging that in a moment of crisis, he acted courageously when people needed it most. He wasn't the only one fighting, the organizer said, but he was one of the ones people saw. Sometimes visibility matters. It gives hope. A quiet moment that moved many. One of the most touching moments came from a resident who shared a story of Bear sitting on the back of a truck, head down, hands covered in soot, while a small boy approached him with a bottle of water. Bear looked up, smiled softly, and accepted it with a quiet, "Thank you, buddy." The boy later told his parents, "Bear is my hero." For many in the community, that simple exchange summarized everything: strength matched with humility, action balanced with heart.